Well, when we began the recycling program, it was the right thing to do, and it still is. The only downside is that it does cost money. We've considered putting a user's fee on it, but at this point, we figure that if we do that, yeah, it'll look better in the coffers, but it will cut the participation probably from about 50 or 60% to about 15%. So we want to make the best use out of the recycling while we have it. I think it's a wonderful thing. Like Mr. Gorman, it's the same thing. We were taking out a garbage bag every day. Now it's like twice a week, and we still have 2 boys living at home. Well, they're men, so, but anyway, I think we want to continue that as long as we can. I think it's a wonderful program. It's second to none. I think Eagle does a wonderful job. You don't have to separate items, which used to be a kind of a problem. You throw everything in there, please rinse it out. But we want to continue doing that, and I think it helps reflect positively on Peoria Heights, which is what we want to do to attract. It was a win, Tanya. Okay. I don't know if I got that correct or not. Anyway, we like recycling. We want to keep it going. Thank you. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Geez, I'm going to catch on sooner or later.
Unless you don't want to answer the next question.
Well, it depends on what it is.
We're going to get more personal.
Uh-oh.
Why do you want to be mayor of Peoria Heights? And what do you bring to the table that your opponent does not?
I want to continue being mayor because I think we've got the irons in the fire to make things continue to be better. And there's a lot of projects that I feel very positive about. I feel that the team we have in place is a team to continue to have in place. And that's why I want to continue. In terms of trying to say, am I bringing something else that Mr. Gorman wouldn't bring? I have a lot of respect for Mr. Gorman. I think that he would probably make a fine mayor. But I'm just going to tell you that, I feel secure in how we've proceeded. I feel good with the team we have in place. I want to continue working to make Peoria Heights exciting, interesting to live in, try and attract the right types of businesses here, and just keep going stronger. Work together as a community. Work together with the schools. Work together with the township, and just keep on a positive trail. So I'm a fairly positive guy, and that's just the way I want to continue doing things in Peoria Heights. Thank you.
I was glad this question was asked also because I'm very passionate about the village of Peoria Heights. I grew up here, went to the schools. My father was a volunteer fireman, served as a village board member, as a supervisor in the township, so our family has been very close to this community. And I think the reason I'm so passionate about it is that it's a community that does things. And the volunteerism, it's been great. We can expand on it. As Mary Ellen has said that, I feel over the years I've had many opportunities to have a full overview in public bodies. Serving on the school board for 20 years, I've seen issues, what the schools face. Serving on the Richwoods Township board here, I've been seeing from my eyes, first time, township business and what the townships do. Serving on committees within Peoria County, as I mentioned, 10 years and 7 years as vice chairman of the Peoria County Zoning Board of Appeals. I see the issues there. And also serving on the Peoria County Minority Business Committee, ad hoc committee for Peoria County. I think I bring a lot to the table here by my experiences in these various public bodies. And that's really taught me a lot, taught me about collaboration, reaching out to other entities, other peoples, other professionals in the community that I have dealt with over the last 10 to 20 years.
We're going to repeat questions from the trustee candidates. Do you support and would you continue the 24/7 ambulance service? And would you continue the supervision under the police department, or do you support returning it to the fire department?
As I said earlier, I'm very passionate about this. I think the program, the ambulance service is great. The 24/7 is great. Not knowing a lot of the particulars or the issues there that happened prior to, I really can't comment, but as I can see from my own eyes and have heard with Chief Sutton taking it over, it's on course to be a good professional service. What better service than having, from my house 2 minutes away, needed ambulance service?
We started the 24/7 ALS certified ambulance service because unfortunately today's world was making it virtually impossible to have a volunteer service working. And that's too bad, but that's the way it is. The third shift of Pabst and Caterpillar, who used to man and woman the service back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and early 80s, those things kind of dried up. So we got to a point where we were not even arriving at 30 to 40% of the calls that were made. So we had to make a decision. And the only decision we could see was to go ahead and have a full-time ALS certified, when before we were basic life support, ALS, where you can intubate people, you can give heart attack medicines, which you can't do. So to me, we were always asking for a potential lawsuit to continue with BLS. So we're state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line ALS. There is a cost involved. There's no question about it. It has cost us plenty in dollars, but it's a positive thing for Peoria Heights. We want to keep it going. And I know that Chief Greg Walters would like the board to consider possibly turning the overseeing of the ambulance service back to the fire department. But Chief Sutton, really what he has done is he has put in place orders, so to speak, to make it up to date with sort of like the police department, because it is a full-time paid service. So the board will consider Chief Walters, what he has to say, and whether or not it is a necessary thing to be done in the future. But right now, rest assured that the fire department, the volunteer fire department, and the paid ambulance service work together quite well at this time, and will continue to do so. Okay. I could have done that when I was 40, but no, I can't.
Another repeat question from one with trustees. You are aware that Peoria County Schools would like to put a referendum on the ballot next year to increase the sales tax countywide by 1 full %, with Peoria Heights having recently, January 1st of 2012, increasing it 0.5%. What is your position on whether or not there should be a 1% increase in the sales tax, knowing that it will go to school infrastructure improvements?
The 1% tax has already been approved by Marshall County, Woodford County, right? There are a number of counties right now. We're not reinventing the wheel. It's been approved by a number of counties around here. Again, I'm going to say it's a nature of the beast, and the beast is the state of Illinois. We know that in the near future, what they're going to be doing is transferring the cost of the pensions for our teachers and administrators. They're going to keep transferring it to the village. Okay? Over the next 5, 10, 15 years, if we don't do something in between, it's going to increase the property taxes here immensely. And we'll have no choice if we want to keep 325. I have a very open mind on this 1% increase for this reason. I want to keep 325 solvent. I want to keep 325 going in Peoria Heights. It is probably the most important part of our village, is to have our own school district. So I am keeping an open mind. I am not against it. I'm not going to say I'm against it right now. I'm probably leaning in favor of it because I know from where I sit, I know what the problems are with the state of Illinois. And we have to make sure that 325 remains solvent.
One point I'd like to point out, Mr. Wilson, too, somewhat being on the school board here, that this 1% sales tax is not just specific for capital improvements. It has two uses, and one is paying down the bonds also. So there is the capital that school districts can make the decision on, or a percentage of it be used to pay down the bonds, and which that means is lowering the property taxes. Anytime you have bonds out there, bonds raise your property taxes. So schools are going to be looking at that, and knowing that, this will be on the ballot, I, along with the mayor, I would agree, I'm keeping an open mind. There's a lot of educational presentations that's going to have to be made in regards to this here. I kind of seen this coming because this discussion started several years ago, and it was only a matter of time before this was going to hit the board, and that falls back to what the state is looking at doing with the pensions regarding the teachers, throwing that back onto the school districts. The school districts, then, in essence, have no other recourse but to raise property taxes. And the process in that is already being put in place by the state legislature. Eventually, the goal is to put it back on the local school districts. So with education, two things that can be used for capital. That's up to the boards of each school district to decide, or a percentage of it be used to pay down their bonds.
So your trustee candidates talked about, they touched on the value of the music festival to the underpinning of community involvement here in Peoria Heights. Clearly, it's something that at least some of your public officials value greatly for this community, and I imagine there aren't too many people here tonight who don't believe in community involvement, otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? So talk about what you can do to improve community involvement, make it even stronger than it already.
That's a good question and a tough one, because in my involvement on various committees here in the region, and that we're always looking how can we get volunteers, can we get more people involved. I think we need to look at the demographics of the community. Let's look at our seniors. Can we reach out to our seniors? Is there a leader in the senior group? Is there a leader in the middle-aged group? Let's look at the youth in this community and reach out to them and say, hey, we need some of you to start stepping forward, come on board. I can remember back in 1998 when I was appointed chairman for the probably one of the bigger festivals here in Peoria Heights, which was the 100-year celebration, the Centennial. And I can tell you at that time, it was hard to get the volunteers for that committee. You really had to reach out. How do you bring volunteerism back? I think you just look at the whole demographics and you ask people. We could utilize Tower Park here. There's a lot of uses that Tower Park could be used for. Maybe expanding a little more to weddings, more little small musical fest, art fest, that continue on, and have something happening every once or 2 weeks or 3 weeks at Tower Park.
Chamber of Commerce has really done a wonderful job of doing all kinds of festivals and things to be involved in. It seems like every time I turn around, there's something great going on, and I mean, it's interesting and people take part in it. What I like about the Music Fest, and also the village participates with the Chamber in advertising the village. It's happening in the Heights. It all started with seed money from the village. 2005 to 2006, from that time period to 2006, 2007, before that, our normal increases in sales tax revenue might be 1% to 3% every year. In that 1 year after we began doing the Tower Park Music Fest and giving the money to the chamber to advertise the village, we went up nearly 11% in 1 year. We realized doggone close to $100,000 in new money. So it's not only something that brings the community together, it's also smart business. I mean, if advertising didn't work, like I've said a million times, nobody would do it. So the one thing with the Tower Park Music Fest, yeah, we do get a few expensive acts like Trustee Pendleton wants to kind of maybe veer away from, but they do bring the people in. That's one thing we have to keep in mind, is that if you have kind of a local well-known band that brings people in, I mean from as far away as Moline, Decatur, They come here. You see them walking down the Prospect Road to the restaurants. And even if they don't go that day, they might come a week later, a month later. So these are the things that I think we have to continue doing, looking at things that make Peoria Heights known as a vibrant community, and I think we're doing that right now. Thank you, H. Almost made it.
We have asked a lot of questions, courtesy of the attendees here this evening. We're going to give you an opportunity for a closing statement to address any issue or issues that we as a group have not brought up so far as to why you think you would be the best candidate for mayor.
Look, first of all, I appreciate everybody coming out because, a lot of times, I don't know how Mr. Gorman feels, but you feel like 15 to 20% turnout is what we're expecting. That's very low, but we're hoping that we get a little more turnout. And no matter who you vote for, who you back, we want the village to show up in mass to vote for whoever they want to have in here. On a lot of levels, it's not going to matter who's in here because so many things have to be done. The roads, maintenance, ambulance service, on and on. But I think the things that put the icing on the cake, the music festivals, the partnering with the chamber, the working with the people, open door policy. We have an extremely open door policy. You call me, I'm going to get to it. I think that my joy of being mayor and serving Peoria Heights, I think that's the best calling card I can throw out to you. I would appreciate your vote, and most importantly, please do vote on April 9th. And we thank you all for attending.
Well, in closing, I'd like to thank the chamber and our moderators, Mr. Wilson and Mrs. Kuntz, and that I think the questions were excellent and the format was well laid out. And also like to thank Adam White here as a new chamber head. Mayor Allen's correct in stating that, we need to work together with the chamber. As I mentioned earlier, I think there's a new exciting initiative, Focus Forward Central Illinois. I think that's bringing a lot of people together, a lot of good ideas, a lot of young people involved, businesses, communities that have never thought they could be at the table with a Caterpillar executive. It's brought everybody together, and I think there are so many good possibilities for this community to grow. And looking at that, as mayor, I would reach out to the community, reach out to those in the community, those that are living here, the young group, or as we're talking about now at FFCI, the Gen X group, the young professionals. How can we entice those young professionals here in the community? The trail is going to be a good asset. And looking at those and the business people. And one of the questions that is off topic here is the parking issue. I can tell you a little funny story real quickly. Come back from Japan, you didn't have to worry about parking. You walked everywhere in Japan for 11 million people in the town that my son was in. But I think there is, as Mary Ellen mentioned, you have the everyday needs of the community that have to be met. Reaching out, being collaborative, strategic planning, do a plan with a mission, with a vision statement, hold to it. I know there's going to be bumps in the road, looking at state funding, federal funding, whatever it may be, but we need to take those steps now because we're somewhat, I would think, at a little bit of a crossroad. And when I've looked at the population within the community, it's declining. We had close to possibly a 10% decline in the last decade. And there was some studies conducted by Peoria County back in 2009, projecting out to the year 2050, the population of this community, and it's shocking. So we have to revitalize the work in bringing young people, the housing market. Like the Realtor Associations say, you bring value to your community by home ownership. I thank everybody for coming out tonight. The questions were excellent. Please remember to vote, and thank you.
sports and taking questions this evening, and we appreciate you doing so.
Thank you. Thank you.
In closing, just want to reiterate and say a big thank you to, most importantly, the candidates for taking the time to share with all of us their positions. So each and every one of you, thank you very, very much for your time this evening, and thank you to all of you. Andrew, you did ask a question to the chamber about parking. I do have a thought as far as this goes in traveling around additional communities that have a vibrant hospitality district, such as Prospect, with limited land space and resources to develop. I would encourage the community to think about a very cost-effective solution. It's going to cost a few gallons of paint, and it's one-way streets on Perpendicular off of Prospect. I know it's a change in tradition, but it's pretty cost-effective. So from that standpoint, that would be the one thought from the Chamber's standpoint, which we could get involved there. Outside of that, thank you all for being here this evening. Want to remind you guys, Wednesday night, we have the business showcase over at the library from 5 to 7. We have a dozen great businesses here from the Heights who are showcasing what they have. The Chamber's using it as a vehicle to show what the current Chamber has in store for this year as well as 2014, and we're trying to encourage additional businesses as well as now residents to get involved with the Chamber. We do have resident memberships, and it's very, very important for our growth going forward that this is a collaborative effort with the Chamber, not just on the business side, but with the residential voice as well. So we would encourage all of you residents to get involved with the Chamber of Commerce here in the Heights, because your voice, your input, your perspective is highly appreciated and valued. So thank you all, and look forward to working with each and every one of you over the next couple of years.